Okay, so hello, welcome back. My name is Ricardo Montoya. I am your teacher for the 5th and the 6th semester in the SEA in the University of Guanajuato. Sorry, let me just adjust this thing. I think that's it. Okay, so today we're gonna continue speaking about time tenses. We have been speaking about many of them. I think we have already discussed the simple present and the simple past. We started with those. Again, if you haven't checked those two, please start with the simple present and the simple past, because those two time tenses are very important. They explain many of the things that we're gonna be checking after that. Okay, this is like chapter number 20 something. I think there are gonna be over 50 videos or something. They are very long. We have a lot of room to cover, a lot of things to check, but I promise you that in the end everything will make sense. I hope it has started to make sense. I hope that you have already started to notice how English is always following the same rules and the same patterns, and it is always the structure. I told you at the beginning of the course, this language is not about the words, okay? Words can be in English, words can be in Spanish. Whenever we translate whatever we are thinking straight into English, we're not gonna do a good job, because English and Spanish are not different because of the words. They are different because of the structure. If it was only the words, again, the only thing we will have to do is to memorize the dictionary, okay? So we're gonna continue doing this. We have already checked the simple present, the simple past, and the simple future. We have already checked the present continuous or present progressive, the past continuous or past progressive, the future continuous or future progressive. The name is the same. It depends on whether on which book you're using. And then we were checking also the present perfect, the past perfect, and the future perfect. Today we're gonna finish time tenses by just looking at the perfect continuous time tenses. We're gonna start with the present perfect continuous, then we have the past perfect continuous or progressive, and then the future perfect continuous or progressive, okay? I told you at the beginning that there were 12 time tenses, and these are the final 3. We have already checked the first 9. We're gonna be checking these 3, and in the end, we're gonna have a chapter when we speak about all of them at the same time, so that you kind of you can see the difference and how to recognize one from another, and how again to decide whether to use one or a different one. Okay, so let's start. We're gonna be speaking, as I told you, about the present perfect continuous or present perfect progressive. The name is again, it depends on which book you're using. Sometimes they call it present perfect continuous. Sometimes they call it present perfect progressive, okay? The auxiliary, it says the present perfect continuous or progressive, I mean, the name is the same, is used to speak about routines that we started at some point in the past, but that we continue to do in the present, okay? These time tenses are a combination between the perfect and the continuous time tenses. This is important, okay? So again, when do we use the present perfect continuous? We're going to use it to speak about routines that we started in the past, something that I started doing in the past, but that I continue to do in the present. I have been working at the SEA for 4 years. It means I started working there 4 years ago, and I continue to work there to this day. Yes, I have been going to the gym for 3 months. It means I started going to the gym 3 months ago, and I continue to go to the gym to this point. Okay, that's pretty much what we are saying. So what is the auxiliary for the present perfect continuous? As I told you, it is kind of like a mixture between the continuous forms and the perfect forms. So we have all the conjugations here. Okay, the first one that we have is I, the first person, have been. Or you have a contraction, have been, or been, I've been. Remember, this time every single auxiliary is going to have 2 words. In the future perfect and in the future continuous, we have that problem that the auxiliary is 2 words. So we're gonna continue to have two words. It is always have been, I have been, you have been. The only different one is the third person of the singular, because remember, this is the present perfect continuous. And in the present, then we have a little bit of a difference. In the present, the third person of the singular uses has instead of have. So you don't say have been, you say has been, okay? I have been, you have been, he, she, it has been. It's been, he's been, it's been, she's been, okay? And then again, with the plurals, all of them, they are the same. We, you, and they have been. We've been, you've been, they've been. And then what happens with the verb? The verb is always in the gerund. Yeah, it is ing. So this is a combination between between some things that we were using in the perfect forms. In the perfect forms, we were using have or has. In the perfect forms, we were using the past participle. In this case, the verb to be in the past participle is part of the auxiliary. But in the continuous times, we were using the verb to be as the auxiliary, and also the verbs were in gerund. So this is like a perfect combination between the present perfect and the present continuous, between the continuous time tenses and the perfect time tenses. So how do we use it? Okay, again, we have it right here. You remember that we need subject, auxiliary, verb, and complement to make affirmative statements. If you want to make an affirmative statement, yeah, if you want to make an affirmative statement, you need subject, auxiliary, verb, and complement. In the case of the present perfect continuous, the auxiliary is always have or has been. And the verb is always in gerund. So it means that it finishes with ing. So, for example, we have this. Subject, I. Yes? Auxiliary, the auxiliary is a little longer, is two words, have been. Remember, it's always have been. Because it is the first person of the singular, then you use have. If it was the third person of the singular, like she, then it will be has. In this case, it's I have. Okay? Then we have the verb. The verb is always in gerund, ing. And then just to finish with that, we have the complement. In this case, the complement is to the gym. It says, I have been going to the gym. This is an affirmative statement. I have been going to the gym means I started going to the gym some time ago, sometimes in the past. In this case, I started 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I started doing this. And today, I continue to do this. This is, again, some kind of routine that I started in the past and that I continue in the present. I continue to do now. Okay? Then how do you make a negative sentence? If you have a negative sentence, if you want to make a negative sentence, then what do you need? Yep, you need your subject. The auxiliary takes the negative. Then you have a verb. And then you have a complement. It is the same structure. The only difference is the auxiliary takes the negative. Okay? So in this case, we have, again, the subject, she. This is the subject. This is the person doing the action. In English, we always start with the subject. Again, we have one, has. We have two, been. Remember that with this time tense, we always have two parts, auxiliaries with two words. Now, do you remember what happens? Do you remember what happens when we have a negative statement? Normally, the auxiliary takes it. But what happens when we have two words working as the auxiliary? If you have two words working as the auxiliary, you have word number one and word number two. Only the first word takes the negative. Remember that. Only the first part takes the negative. You say, she hasn't or I haven't. She hasn't been watching, I haven't been going. You never say, I have been not going, she has been not watching. No, no, no. The negative is only for the first part, okay? That is an important part. And then we have our verb. The verb is always in the ing form. So subject, auxiliary with negative, but only the first part of the auxiliary is taking the negative, verb with ing, and in the end, we have the complement. The complement in this case is TV. She has been watching TV. Yeah? Oh, she hasn't been watching TV, sorry. She hasn't been watching TV. What is the meaning of that? That in the last few days, in the last few months, in the last few weeks, she started not watching TV and she continues not watching TV. So she has been very busy. She has been very busy. So now she hasn't been watching TV. She doesn't really have time for that. Okay? She hasn't been watching TV. Then we have something a little bit more complicated, which is how to make questions. Again, the auxiliary has two parts: have, been, has, been, have, been. You have two parts. Do you remember how to make a sentence, an affirmative statement into a question? Yeah? Remember, the subject and the auxiliary, they switch positions. Normally, we start subject, auxiliary, verb, and complement. In this case, we start auxiliary, subject, verb, and complement. The problem is, again, that we have two auxiliaries. Well, not two auxiliaries, but the auxiliary is in two parts. We have two words working as the auxiliary. Do you remember what happens when we have two words working as the auxiliary? If you have two words, if you have part one and part two, only the first part is going to change positions. Yeah, only the first part is going to change positions with the subject. Have I been? Have we been? Yeah, you don't change the whole thing. You don't say have been I going to the gym. No, you don't say have been we eating cereal. No, it is only the first part. The first part takes the negative. The first part switches positions with the subject to make a question, to make a yes/no question. Yeah, this is a question. Have we been? Then we have the auxiliary is broken into two parts, and then only the first part switches positions with the subject. Okay, only the first part is doing this change. You're going to change only the first part with the subject. And then what else do we need? Right, we need a verb with ing. The verb is always with ing, eating. And then we have our complement, cereal all week. Have we been eating cereal all week? Like from the beginning of the week, from Monday, we started eating cereal. And have we continued to eat cereal from Monday until now? Have we eaten cereal all week? The only answer to this is yes, we have been eating cereal all week, or no, we haven't been eating cereal all week. Okay? So let me explain this again, but now in Spanish, because I know that sometimes it can be a bit confusing. Okay? En español va esta parte. Este es el presente perfecto continuo. El presente perfecto continuo sería algo así como yo he estado haciendo. Yo he estado yendo al gimnasio, yo he estado comiendo tal cosa, yo he estado viendo tal programa. ¿Ok? ¿Cómo funciona? Bueno, se utiliza para hablar de rutinas o cosas que empezaste en el pasado, pero que continúas haciendo. Cuando dices yo he estado yendo al gimnasio, significa que hace un tiempo comenzaste a ir al gimnasio y que hoy continúas yendo al gimnasio. He estado yendo al gimnasio por 3 meses. O sea, desde hace 3 meses empecé a ir y hoy sigo yendo. Más o menos, es una rutina que empezaste en el pasado y que continúas haciendo. ¿Cuál es el auxiliar para el presente perfecto continuo? El auxiliar es have been. Como es el presente perfecto continuo, el presente tiene 2 variantes. Have been y has been. La tercera persona del singular lleva has. Las otras 5 personas llevan have. ¿Ok? Entonces, siempre es been. Eso no se mueve. Y nada más cambia have been o has been. Nuestro auxiliar en este momento siempre es de 2 palabras. Los tiempos perfectos continuos tienen un auxiliar que tiene dos partes. Have been o has been. Y el verbo siempre va en gerundio. O sea, el verbo siempre va en ing. Es esta parte que pueden ver aquí. Lo que está en azul es el verbo, lo que está en verde es el auxiliar, lo que está en rojo es el sujeto. Ustedes recordarán que para hacer oraciones afirmativas, lo hemos repetido muchas veces, hay una estructura. Sujeto, auxiliar, verbo y complemento. Entonces, ¿cómo lo hago? Mi sujeto es la persona que hace la acción. Si quiero, la puedo suplantar por un pronombre personal. En este caso, I. Después, mi auxiliar, que como, bueno, tengo la primera persona del singular, el auxiliar es have been. Es de dos partes, pero se ponen las dos aquí. I have been. Y después el verbo, que es en gerundio, going, y después mi complemento, cualquier cosa. I have been going to the gym. Yo he estado yendo al gimnasio. Perfecto. Ahora, el problema es cuando hacemos oraciones negativas y cuando hacemos preguntas. Porque cuando hacemos oraciones negativas, ustedes recordarán que el auxiliar, este de aquí, el verde, se lleva el negativo. El problema es que nuestro auxiliar tiene dos partes. Tiene have y tiene been. Tiene dos partes. ¿Dónde pongo el negativo? ¿Lo pongo después de been o después de have? Bueno, si estuvieron poniendo atención y ya vieron los videos anteriores, se acordarán de que tanto en el futuro perfecto como en el futuro continuo tenemos este mismo problema. Tenemos auxiliares de dos partes, de dos palabras. Y en todos esos casos, la regla siempre ha sido la misma. El negativo solo se lo lleva la primera palabra. Nunca digo have been not o have been, digo haven't been. Nunca digo has been not, digo hasn't been. ¿Ok? Solo la primera parte es la que se lleva el negativo. Sujeto, auxiliar con negativo, que se lo llevó la primera parte, verbo con ing y complemento. She hasn't been watching TV. Ella no ha estado viendo televisión. Ella desde hace un tiempo dejó de ver televisión y ahora sigue sin verla. She hasn't been watching TV. Perfecto. Pero ¿cómo hacemos una pregunta? Otra vez tenemos el problema de que nuestro auxiliar tiene dos partes. Has y been o have y been. ¿Cómo hacemos una pregunta? Normalmente, pues el auxiliar y el sujeto cambian de posición. Empezamos a auxiliar sujeto en lugar de sujeto auxiliar. En este caso, como nuestro auxiliar es en dos partes, vamos a partir nuestro auxiliar y solo la primera mitad del auxiliar va a cambiar su lugar con el sujeto. No vamos a decir have been we. Nada más pasamos el puro have. Have we been? Have we been? Has she been? Have I been? Siempre, siempre, siempre solo es la primera parte. Igual que en el futuro continuo era algo así como will I be going o I won't be going. O que el futuro perfecto, que era will I have gone? Will I have gone o I won't have gone. ¿Se acuerdan? Si no se acuerdan, regresen a esa parte, es lo mismo. Cuando tenemos un auxiliar de dos palabras, solo la primera parte cambia su lugar con el sujeto, solo la primera parte se lleva el negativo, el verbo no cambia, sigue estando en la tercera posición y es en gerundio. Nuestro complemento es cualquier cosa extra y aquí dice have we been eating cereal all week? ¿Hemos estado comiendo cereal toda la semana? La respuesta es sí, sí lo hemos estado haciendo o no, no lo hemos estado haciendo. ¿Ok? Esto quiere decir que empezamos al principio de semana a comer cereal y me estoy preguntando si seguimos haciéndolo. Es como, ¿llevamos ya una semana haciendo lo mismo? ¿Es una rutina que empezamos hace una semana y que continuamos haciendo? Y me responderán, no, no, no. O sí, ese fue exactamente el problema. ¿Ok? So, I'm going to clear all the drawings and let's move on. Present perfect continuous. Okay. In the present perfect continuous, as in most other time tenses, the verb to be is like any other verb. To use it, we only have to place it after the auxiliary, conjugated in gerund like any other verb. Okay. So again, I told you this at the beginning. We have 12 time tenses, and the two most difficult ones are the simple present and the simple past because they have a lot of exceptions. They have multiple auxiliaries. The verb to be doesn't work with the rest of the auxiliaries. We don't use the auxiliary in affirmative statements. If you don't remember that mess, go back to the simple present and the simple past. Those are the two most difficult time tenses, I think. So now, in this time tense, in the present perfect continuous, in present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous, in the other 10 time tenses, the verb to be is a normal verb, like any other verb. So what do we have? Again, for example, we have an affirmative statement, we have subject, a negative statement, we have subject, and a question. The subject is in the second position in the question. We have to invert. The order of the elements. Then we have the auxiliary, which is two parts, have, been. The auxiliary, which is two parts, have, If been, when we make a negative, only the first part takes the negative. And the auxiliary, which is in two parts, have and been. When we have this, again, only the first part switches positions with the subject. Okay, so again, 1 and 2. My auxiliary is 2 words. When I have a question, when I have a negative, only the first part takes the negative. The second part remains normal. When we have a question, only the first part switches positions with the subject. The subject and only the first one, they are the ones that switch positions. You don't switch all of it. Okay? And then what else do we have? What else do we have? We have, sorry, I need this square. We need verbs with ing, verbs with ing, verbs with ing. What happens if I have the verb to be? The verb to be is any normal verb. I have been being. Have been is the auxiliary, and being is the verb with ing. I haven't been being. Again, been is part of the auxiliary, and being is the verb in ing. Have we been being? Been is a part of the auxiliary, and being is the verb. The difference in pronunciation between been and being, the thing is, been in the past participle is only one syllable. Been, like been, only one sound, been. When you say being, then you have 2 syllables, being, been, being, okay? I have been being, or I've been being. I've been being sad. My dog died last week. I've been being sad. He estado triste, o he estado estando triste, una cosa así. Yo he estado estando triste. Ok, suena un poco extraño en español, pero incluso se puede funcionar. Yo he estado estando triste. I haven't been being honest. Yo no he estado siendo honesto. No he estado siendo, recuerden que el verbo ser y el verbo estar en inglés son el mismo verbo to be. Entonces, yo no he estado siendo honesto. Necesito decirte la verdad. I haven't been being honest. No he estado siendo honesto. En un momento en el pasado empecé a ser deshonesto y continúo siendo deshonesto. Entonces, no he estado siendo honesto. Have we been being naive? Hemos estado siendo naive significa algo así como, lo tenía aquí, es cuando eres como muy crédulo, cuando te crees las cosas, inocente, digamos, es como muy, hay una palabra específica. Naive es, sí, es como inocente, es cuando eres muy ingenuidad. Have we been being naive? ¿Hemos estado siendo ingenuos? I think they are cheating on us. Creo que están haciendo trampa. Creo que nos están engañando. ¿Hemos estado siendo ingenuos? Sí, hemos estado siendo ingenuos. No hemos estado siendo ingenuos. El verbo ser y el verbo estar no importa. El verbo to be es un verbo común y corriente. Si lo quiero usar, pues como cualquier otro verbo, solo lo pongo con ing. Como cualquier otro verbo. ¿Ok? Eso sería básicamente el presente perfecto continuo. ¿Sí? Sigue el pasado perfecto continuo, entonces esto lo vamos a dejar por aquí. El pasado perfecto continuo, voy a seguir hablando de eso más adelante en el próximo video. Mi intención es que no queden tan cargados y que puedan irlos checando uno por uno. Yo sé que ya son bastantes videos, son bastantes minutos, pero bueno, teníamos una clase de 90 horas que va a tener que ser completamente virtual. Entonces, bueno, esta es la manera más fácil que encontré de poder comunicarles todo esto que hay que decir. Espero que les sirva. Si tienen alguna pregunta, si tienen alguna duda, otra vez me pueden dejar un comentario en el mismo video y voy a tratar de estarlos respondiendo. También pueden apuntarla en su libreta y utilizarla cuando tengamos sesiones en vivo. Cuando tengamos sesiones en Zoom, podemos básicamente repasar temas específicos. También les voy a dejar algunos otros videos con ejercicios, con algunos textos desmenuzados para que vean cómo todo esto se sigue usando. Y quiero que se den cuenta de cómo la primera clase que tuvimos, lo primero de lo que hablamos, se sigue respetando. Sujeto, auxiliar, verbo y complemento. sujeto, auxiliar con negativo, verbo y complemento, auxiliar, sujeto, verbo y complemento. No hemos roto ninguna regla. Ya estamos en tiempos bastante más complejos y seguimos siguiendo las reglas del primer día. El inglés es una cosa muy repetitiva, ¿sí? Lo que tenemos que hacer es entender la estructura. Espero que esto les ayude y pues bueno, cualquier cosa, ya saben cómo contactarme. Tenemos por ahí algún grupo para la clase. Y pues bueno, descansen, tómense un descanso un rato. Si quieren seguir adelante, pueden avanzar. Nos falta el siguiente tiempo es el pasado perfecto continuo. ¿Ok? Entonces lo vamos a estar checando pronto. ¿Ok? So, thank you very much. See you.